Cheers to you all! It's Friday afternoon once again, which came in like a goddamn steam train today. Holy cow. Because we've been playing Pal World, Pokey with Guns, and surprisingly, despite the meme effects of the trailer of that game, it is really, really fun. They put together an absolutely solid game. Really impressed with the early game. Flying mounts unlocked, mansions being built, and the RSPCA animal lovers chasing us down and hunting us down for our troubles. And bosses defeated. Good stuff. I'll put a video out on our TDP channel to express my thoughts with some footage for those of you who haven't seen it, especially our audio listeners. But it's free on Game Pass. We're not sponsored or anything. It's just a fun game that is definitely recommended to have a mess around with if you have Game Pass. Go on and check it out. It's an early access version, but it's very, very good. But that's not why you're here today, my friends. As much as I am off to Manchester City Centre tonight to see some people, I want to spend my last hour of streaming time with you guys and have some fun. And we're going to do that with Drama Time, where we've got a lot of stuff in front of us that our wonderful Bex has provided for us. And hopefully you guys out there, because everybody has a story to tell us. Oh, God. Oh, some of these titles are gross. You can send them into drama@preachgaming.com so we can share in your tales of misery and woe. So let's do it, shall we? Let's do it. Let's have some fun. I want to know what this is, because this is disgusting. I would rather Pug M+. I think we've got a wayward soldier. I think a soul that has been lost. I think a soul that has been lost to time and maybe has been corrupted and devoured. Might need our help. May need our help here. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know where this is going or what happened to this person that has scarred them so deeply that this is the results that they've come back with. Okay. Let's find out. Hello, Preach and the chat. Where's me gavel? I'm already predicting a guilty. Let me shine my gavel up real nice. I'm already predicting a guilty showing up. I come to you, my friend, from west coast of best country. Team America. Ah, you're Cali way, are you? We'll see. And I've been such a long YouTube enjoyer, catching the tail end of a stream here and there. And I started playing World of Warcraft in Warlords of Draenor, New Fish. But I didn't begin improving my play until middle of Legion, where your class guides taught me not to be a shit player. Blessed be. Blessed be. Nowadays, I play all the roles across many classes, and I've got you to thank for that, so thank you. I'm not seeking judgment from the chat, so put your gavels away. Okay. But rather, I'm sharing the ridiculousness of a recent moment in my guild. Yeah, they say they don't need judgment. All right. Let me set you some context for where we're going here. The story of my guild's conception could be a drama story in and of itself, but that isn't the focus. All you need to know is that we raided 4 out of 9 Mythic in Aberrus, alright, so they're not shitters, but didn't enter Mythic until mid 10.1.5, and were consistently plagued by inconsistent and suboptimal raiders. Some shitters, some good ones, some shitters. We've all been there. Yes, Tony's here tonight, and yes, Tony fucking sucks, and I wish Tony would just stop showing up, or that management would replace him. We always had fun, though. We wanted to bolster our ranks to push as deep into Mythic and Madrasil as possible, with the goal of getting cutting edge sometime later in the tier. To this end, we shifted our focus in mid-August from raiding to recruiting for the next patch. Okay, smart. Long-term view. I like this so far. This is good. We recruited so many players that we went from not having enough consistent raiders for a single Mythic team to having enough raiders for progression-orientated Mythic team, and you got greedy. A more casual, ahead-of-the-curve early Mythic raid team. You guys got greedy. We recruited up to 40 to 45 members in total. You dug too deep. You dug too deep. We came up with a spiffing tagline for recruitment that was along the lines of, "Do you want to get into Mythic Raid? Do you have no Mythic experience? Join us today. Okay. That feels like you're dragging a net across the bottom of the ocean and really, really hoping that somebody will get tugged into this. All right. Now, for some of you listening, this may seem like a red flag. But with the launch of Dragonflight, we have run into a ton of raiders who either pugged the first few bosses of Mythic or blast M+ at a very high level who wanted structure and a progression challenging raid environment. But they didn't have the logs or Mythic kills to get into an established Mythic raid group. Okay. The end of Season 2 was a blast. The influx of so many players led to constant banter in Discord, and we went from needing 2 to 3 voice channels for Mythic Plus to making 8 Mythic Plus channels. I tell you, the vibes were awesome, and everyone was eager to help one another get some crests for their characters, learn their new main for 10.2, discuss PTR changes and other things. Yes, you're in what's called the honeymoon period. Everybody's excited. There's hustle, there's bustle, there's fresh people to learn about and stories being told. You're in that wonderful, sweet honeymoon period where everybody's having a good time and they're all excited and it's gonna be great. For now. For now. That's where you are. When 10.2 hit, the Discord was on fire. A mad scramble for items had begun. For the first 2 weeks, our 2 raiding teams were an amalgamation made up of mostly to achieve the dual goal of keeping friends together and to allow the guild to gather logs which would be used to disperse the raiders into their appropriate teams. We decided to name the teams. Our mythic progress-minded team would be called the Ace of Spades, whereas the more casual, ahead of the curve, early mythic boss team would be named the Pizza Toppings. Our mindset was that the mythic-orientated players may not be interested in doing content outside of raid with, let's just say, lesser skilled players. And if we initially threw everybody into the melting pot, we would allow people to get to know each other and be able to assess what we had recruited. The goal for both teams at the start, something simple, something easy, normal Farak. Can't go wrong. Both our teams achieved this very, very easily. Now, I know you think it seems like a horrible idea mixing players of varying skill level into one team, but since the majority of players were new to the guild and this was only a temporary situation, we didn't run into any problems. In addition, this served as a test to see to what extent our players were willing to work as a team to help other people and not just themselves. We weren't interested in players who were unwilling to be in a community. At least, why? What's wrong with that? Some of the best players I've ever played with were basically robots. They turned up every single night. They came prepared. They never spoke. They always did their jobs. They were great raiders. They were basically NPCs. And when you did speak to them, they were having a great time. They were having a great time. They liked to come home. They liked to raid. And then they log off. And that's it. And they're totally fine with it. It's not a problem. At the end of the day, we were, of course, reorganizing our entire guild. Not just a raid team. We needed structure internally. We needed communications channels. We needed to see what people needed. In the 3rd week, the officer corps took a look at the logs gathered over the course of the first 2 weeks and divided these teams based on their ability. As expected, we lost a couple of players in the process. Bound to happen. The weaker chaff. Apart from one example I could think of, we pretty easily split up the teams based on just ability. And that, of course, brings us to the week in question. The week that led to this story being written. Our raid times are 2 hours twice a week. 2 hours. You raid for 2 hours twice a week. Jesus Christ. We only raid 2 hours twice a week. So we consider our time in the raid very valuable. 2 hours? That's insane. That's like serious farm hours. Seeing as it was only this team's second week raiding together, we were all very excited to begin Mythic as soon as possible. The week prior, we spent about 45 minutes progressing Heroic for Furak, figuring out dispels and how best to utilize our 2 master spells and revival, and we were confident we would 1 to 2 shot it this week. On Tuesday, we made our way through Heroic Raid with very little issues. We one-shot everything other than a little wipe on Smoldy Boy. And by the time we got to Furak, we only had 10 minutes of raid time left. You're going to raid Mythic within 2 hours, but it takes you 1 hour and 50 to clear Heroic. Okay. So with 10 minutes remaining, our raid leader went over the strategy he had made since the last week of progress. We took a pull, 1 pull, got it to 20%, and stopped for the night. Okay. To be fair, you could walk away saying we have all night tomorrow, which is 2 hours, in order to progress this, but okay. We were very eager to get back there, kick his ass, and move into our Mythic beginnings for the first time of this tier. At least that was the impression I had when I walked away from my PC that night. When it got to the next raid night, I was pumped to the gills. We were going to get ahead of the curve that night, start Mythic. This was going to be a big moment for all of us. On top of this, our raid team, this tier, was so much better than the team we had in Aberrus. The recruitment had gone well. The division of ability had gone well. I'll tell you this, my friend. Furak Heroic died on the second pull, and that left us basically the entire raid night to get going into Mythic. As our raid leader kneeled over Furak's corpse and distributed loot, and we teleported to the front of the raid to go back in, an orange message arrived from Shmeven, one of the newest players who had joined that raid team. Good job tonight, guys. I'm looking forward to Mythic next week. As I read this, I was a little confused. Everyone was eager to go to Mythic now. So why wouldn't we go now? Why would we wait until next week? I responded, we're going to Mythic now, dude. His response, while still on trial, left me in disbelief. Oh. Well, good luck in Mythic, guys. I missed out on a ton of IO score when I was on vacation this week. So I'm going to do Mythic Plus. Have a good night. You've got to admire the moxie. You've got to admire the moxie. The man's got stones or is incredibly clueless. It's one of the two things. Good luck, guys. Sounds awesome. I'll see y'all later. I'm going to get Mythic Plus score. See you in a bit. Now, for some background on this, I have pushed keys earlier in the season with Shmeven. And he's actually a really cool guy. He's funny. We get along well. He seemed like a team player. He was always eager to push keys with a great attitude. And he'd help guildies push up their keys and get them up to get the proper vaults. His raid damage, you know, Not amazing, but this was only his second tier playing World of Warcraft and only ran Mythic Plus in the previous tier and got 3200 IO score. With his innate ability, I knew he had potential to absolutely be cracked if he put in a little bit more effort on the dummy and practiced a little bit into how to DPS in a raid. So I politely responded, dude, there's no way you're going to do Mythic Plus instead of being here for the Mythic raid with the guild, right? Question mark. Thinking back, I should have called him out in voice and roasted his ass for such a stupid decision, but I kind of thought he was joking. It was just so bizarre. And with no response, as I waited and waited, he sent one final message in the raid. GG, guys. Good luck tonight. And then left the raid. I was in disbelief. This left us one man down for Mythic. Wait, your guild leader, your raid leader didn't call this shit out or what? It left us one man down. And as a result, we called the raid after only 20 minutes and 2 pulls. What? Wait. Your guild had 40 to 45 members in it. You lost some people in the redistribution. Not only was this guy not immediately kicked, or at least, like, explained that, are you aware you're wasting 19 people's other time with this fucking decision? Your raid leader couldn't find one other person to join in. I was dumbfounded. I was left in utter disbelief. I was questioning why would this person, who is a decent person, schedule Mythic Plus in the 2 hours that we raid that night? In hindsight, I don't know why we didn't pull one of the DPS from the other raid as we raid at the same time, but I do remember there being some sort of problem with the strategy that he was involved in. What's the first boss? Gnarlroot? Who's vital at Gnarlroot? I think the leadership was talking about something along the lines of we didn't want the second raid team to feel like a feeder team to Mythic Progress team. Oh, you didn't want the pizza munchers or whatever they are to be second fiddle to the ace of spades. I see. But pulling in a raider for an emergency shouldn't have sent that notion. Regardless, we called the entire raid. While this was a huge disappointment, obviously, and people were angry, I had another 2 to 3 hours of WoW before I would stop for the night. So I decided to do some M+ of my own. In a terrible mood, I grabbed a couple of people from Guild and put my 23 Everbloom in the LFG. It took goddamn forever to fill the group. And we were in queue for about 30 minutes before filling it up. About 15 minutes into that queue... No way. No fucking way. About 15 minutes into the queue, lo and behold, who signed up for my key but Schmeven, who was supposedly running with his team, as he had described it. I obviously was not in the mood to run keys with this dude after bailing on the raid that we should have been doing, so I left him to sit in LFG purgatory, neither accepting nor denying his request. After 5 minutes, his request expired, and he immediately re-added himself to my key. This time, I immediately denied him, and he then whispered me, rude, winky, unhappy face. This lit my fuse like dynamite, and I blasted him. I was an officer in the guild. I did my best to not be complete rage maniac. But the fact that he had left us to cancel our Mythic raid, wasn't running with an organized team, and was pugging Mythic Plus instead of sticking around for a couple of hours with the guild, drove me off a cliff. His basic argument that he gave me was that we should just have pugged someone instead of ending the raid. Shrooge. Why didn't you just pug someone? And it's not his responsibility to make sure that the raid goes ahead. He's not an officer. I need to know, what do you guys think of that attitude? What the fuck? Where do you guys sit with that attitude? It is not his responsibility to attend the raids. Booted. Yeah, insta-dick. What a fuck. The sheer lack of awareness here for what your role means in a team of any description, mythic, heroic, doesn't matter, is just beyond belief. The complete lack of understanding. It's hard to talk to these people, and I've dealt with it before. Like, I say that. Like, people who just have no self-awareness about anybody else's time except their own. It's just like, I don't know. I don't understand. Like, why is it my problem? I kept my cool. I started to explain it to him, while, yes, we could have pugged someone. You are a raider in this team who is available to play. And that pugging people for mythic progress isn't why we have raiders in the guild. I explained to him, calmly, that there is a responsibility that he has to the other 19 players who have put time aside in their lives to enjoy a game together to take part when you sign up for that content. And that also, those 19 players also have a responsibility to him. His response was... I don't have a responsibility to them, and they don't have one to me. If I can't play or they can't play, I could just pug it. Shrooge. There's nowhere to go from there, right? There's nowhere to go from there. At that point, this is just GG. This is GG. You're calling it there. Like, there's no victory to be had here. This is wiping 2% into the fight after 4 days. There's no victory. I'm calling it a day. No thanks. I tried to explain to him that when you organize a time for everybody to play together, it's to make sure everybody's there. He took these messages personally. And he G-quit and removed me from Battle.net. Good. Good. He did you a favor. He did you a massive favor. It's all good. The situation is resolved. It's all fine. Thank God. Thank God. Over the coming weeks, the small group of players he had joined with all started to leave too. Because we were too hardcore. Compared to what they were used to. 2 hours twice a week. 2 hours twice a week. Too hardcore. Hot damn. Hot damn. It left us in a bad spot. And when I asked about it with other players, they all agreed with his justification. Yeah, they don't get it. They used... No, I think this... I wonder. This might be an interesting study for us to do, but I'm not sure how we would do it off the top of my head. Has the introduction of Flex, which was what? Mr. Pandaria? I think, at the end of Mr. Pandaria? Has the introduction of Flex bred a whole few generations of players who have really no understanding of, like, organized raiding? Because remember, they recruited people who had either pugged or just... That's it, right? They'd pug. They'd never been in a structured mythic team. Are there now, like, quite a large amount of players, potentially, who are like, I don't understand this concept of, like, we need to be here from, like, 7 till 11 or whatever. Or 7 till 9 in this case. Like, I don't get it. If I previously was like, I can join for half an hour, it was fine. Because it was Flex. I could join, and then I could leave, and, like, it didn't matter. It doesn't matter at all, and I could get everything done. So, maybe that's it. I don't think it's because of that system. People in general these days just have no fucks to give about other people's time. That's really dark. I choose not to think it was that, like, out of my own naivety, maybe. I just don't find it that hard of a concept. It's like, yeah, mythic raiding needs a certain amount of people there, so we organize a time to be there, like a football match, like anything. It needs to be organized. We can't have, you know, if you go to a football match, you can't just have 4 people just be like, nah, I can't be bothered. Or I could stay for like 20 minutes and then I've got to go. It's not that difficult a concept. Certainly when it's only 2 hours. There was only one player who instantly asked, can I have his raid spot in the better team? That's my boy right there. That's my boy right there. Wait. They quit. Why? Can I join the good team then? Because like it seems like you got some raid spots, right? Seems like you got some raid spots going up. I'm getting in. Overall, we saw this as a net win, that they are now gone from the raid teams. Yeah, for sure. Since players like those would not have worked in an organized, coordinated raid team. No, they would not. To be clear, and I just want to say this to the audience listening, I don't hate this guy. Like I said, we got along well, and he was a really good player. If your response to being called out for inconveniencing 19 other people is to baby rage and leave the guild, though, it's better that he's gone. It is. It is absolutely better. I'm happy to say that our guild is still successfully chugging through Mythic, and we just got our Mythic Laradar kill. Good job. In addition, we're using farm bosses to trial new recruits. Have set up some decent bench, so this situation doesn't happen again. Excellent. Excellent. Yeah, there's some really good comments coming out here. I'll have to check them after the show, but wow. Thank you for reading my story, and reminder, everybody, God bless America. God bless. Not guilty. No, not guilty. I've told the story a few times, but for any new listeners, we had a guy like this during Antorus, who said he literally whispered our raid leader saying his pizza had arrived, so can he be replaced? And nicely, our raid leader, Pirowin, was like, that's weird, but sure, I guess. This guy was on trial. He was not a long-term member. This guy was a trial. On his trial, he said, can I step out for a bit and have my pizza so I'm not, like, rushing it? So Piro was like, okay, but maybe next time sort your food out so it's not like, you know, we're losing a player. We could be doing, like, a serious progress raid, and we don't really want players just randomly disappearing for 20 minutes. We have, like, a set break. You know, we have a break time. That's what we used to have. This was in Not Like This. We have a break time, and so organize it for then. The motherfucker leaves the raid, right? Just left the raid. He then whispers Pirowin saying, I'm eating my pizza, but I need the ring from this boss. Can I come back in and replace somebody so I could get the ring? And Pirowin's like, are you taking the fucking piss? Like, no, what the fuck? Yeah, he just sat out eating pizza and like watching somebody stream and was like, yeah, I need loot here. Like, let me back in while you guys have cleared all the shit to the bosses that I actually need. Or like, no, other people need the ring. It's like, well, I could do it. Oh, Jesus Christ. Oh, the titles of these stories this week are amazing. But GG's to that guy. And yeah, God bless. Be careful scraping that ocean for players. You will find some diamonds in the rough, but yeah. Okay, we have a question. Was I playing with a bot? This is a difficult question sometimes. As we discovered, and I'm talking years old content that I made during the times when we didn't stream properly. We streamed like 1 hour a day. I did a workshop on someone who was so bad at the game they couldn't have been a bot. I know that's hard to believe because a lot of people are like, this must be a video of a bot playing that somebody sent you. And I was like, it's not a bot. And I was like, how can you tell this is not a bot? And the truth is, a bot would play better than what we're watching on the screen right now. It was a rogue. It was a rogue who it was clearly a bought account is what it was. It was somebody who had bought an account and they didn't understand what combo points were. So they were just like, Sinister Strike, Eviscerate, Sinister Strike, Sinister Strike. They had like 1 combo point, 3 combo points, and were just pressing any old shit. It was like a bot would play better. It's as simple as that. And they were moving from stuff, so a bot would not be able to do that. It was weird. Okay, let's see. Was I playing with a bot? Let's see. Holla Preacher, Bex, and your bog standard run-of-the-mill chat. I've learned not to butter you up because you'll accuse me of being guilty. Kind of true. I'm writing to you from Team Chicago. Yeah, I have yet to try a deep dish pizza. I want to try it. I don't prejudge. I want to test it out. I found you way back in early Qatar on Mr. Pandara. I can't remember when exactly. When I started to take raiding a bit more seriously. I'm also a listener to Drama Time as it fills my long-ass delivery days for Amazon. That's a tough job from what I hear, especially in the US. God bless, brother. And helps the time go by a lot quicker. Shout-outs to our Amazon drivers out there listening to Drama Time. This story is one that I lay before the court. In addition, a question also needs answering. Okay. Let me set the stage for you all. I started back in Wrath of the Lich King because of my alliance-loving friend and eventually future brother-in-law, nice, showed me Warcraft 3. I was immediately captivated by the world of Azeroth and the story of Arthas. And when I found out that WoW expansion was centered around his story, I knew I had to play. God, I wish I knew who fucking Arthas was when Wrath of the Lich King was announced. Everybody that I knew was going nuts. Nuts. And I was like, why are we going crazy for Lord of the Rings? I don't even like Lord of the Rings. Genuinely, I've never played Warcraft 3. When they announced Wrath of the Lich King, I was like, that's just fucking Sauron. I don't get it. I really didn't get it. It looked like such a... You know when people saw the Mists of Pandaria trailer and they were like, why are we ripping off Kung Fu Panda, right? That's how I felt about Wrath of the Lich King. I was like, I don't get it. This is just Lord of the Rings. It's a complete ripoff. And I'm just telling you the truth, man. I have no reason to lie to you. I just remember being so... I don't get the hype while everybody around me was losing their fucking minds. I have not played Warcraft 3. No. I have not played it. Apparently Reforged is really good, though, and I should give it a try. I was an FPS gamer, an RTS in terms of like Command and Conquer and stuff. I didn't play Warcraft 3. World of Warcraft never entered my life until the alpha of World of Warcraft. That is the only time I'd even probably heard of Warcraft. I'll be honest with you. Oh, that's when I heard about it. I was playing other MMOs and PvP and shit. I had never heard of the Warcraft universe until the alpha of World of Warcraft. Now, let's get back to the story. Let's stop focusing on me and judging me. Let's judge this person. Now, I typically consider myself a pretty smart gamer, and I do my best to steer free of any drama-filled situations. But I have had my share of epic and hilarious experiences over the years. Like how my first Pug group for 10-man Lich King progression was successfully concluded by the Lich King having a dot on him and the last surviving mage sat in ice block long enough for Arthas to hit his final snap. Those are always good kills. Those are good kills. Or how my best friend suddenly stopped logging in one day because the laptop he used for World of Warcraft was confiscated by the police for pirating music. Or how that same best friend ended up in a guild with a mother and daughter that both were flirting with him. A smoothie, eh? Providing all that illegal music via Napster and LimeWire. The ladies love a man with Napster. Those are both not my stories to tell, though. But if I can get the recounting of them from him, I will happily submit them on his behalf. We would love that. We would like that. I played WoW for a lot over the years, including Mythic Progress in Hellfire Citadel, a tough one, and heroic clears, getting ahead of the curve, basically every expansion up until, of course, BFA. While that expansion burned me out like fuck before I even got to raiding, I did think, well, the next expansion can't be that bad, and came back in Shadowlands. I got Curve in Nathria with my guild and dipped my toes into Sanctum, and it burned me out again. You lasted longer in Shadowlands than you did in BFA. Weird. That's really weird. Probably had good friends playing with. Later on, thanks to my job as a games journalist and guides writer for a UK-based game site at the time, Big Blizzard hooked your boy up with a copy of Dragonflight and some game time to write a review for Dragonflight at launch. Can I thank all you journalists for doing such a terrible job that, this is true story, Blizzard contacted me shortly before the media embargo to do a review because they didn't like any of the written ones. I got paid so much money. Oh, it's so good. I got like yeah. I can tell you now, Dragonflight's been out for ages, but they fucking called me. It was so good. Yeah. They're like, okay, we need somebody who knows what they're talking about. I was like, all right. And Dragonflight was good, so it was fine. It worked out well. As well as to write dungeon guides for all the Wrath Classic dungeons. Interesting. I tell you what, it still freaks me out. We've seen on YouTube, all our Cataclysm videos are getting hit so much more. It's really strange. My Cataclysm guides are starting to rise and rise and rise because of Cataclassic. It's really odd to see. I leveled a Demon Hunter I made in Legion. and never touched, since they were supposed to be Bis Deeps and God tier tanks. I played for my 3 month and stopped just before the Vault of the Incarnates came out. We've gone full circle, like all this shit that I did years ago. Keep going, Classic. Keep going. I've got guides for Kata. I've got guides for WOD. You keep going. All good. Keep doing it. Let's fast forward then to the race to world first in Madrasil. I'm watching you and the world-class Echo Casting, production and players smash that raid up, and the itch comes back. Yeah, I'm not surprised. Couple that with the boys in Discord talking about coming back to play in preparation for Season of Discovery, and Metzen's BlizzCon opening presentation calling out that it is time to come home. I'd been wrestling with coming back to WoW for weeks. I had Destiny 2, Path of Exile, Diablo 4, and a few other games on my agenda. I wasn't sure that I could commit the time for World of Warcraft. I know the feeling. There is a raid team, a really good one, that is being assembled right now for War Within, and I just don't know if I could do it. I don't know. But I said, what the hell? Fuck it. I can afford to play it. I have some time, and I resub to World of Warcraft and pick up where I left off with that sweet Demon Hunter on the tank. But I ended up hating the playstyle, so it was time for Deeps. I researched what classes are good. I was happy to find that one of my favourite damage specs was good in both dungeons and raids, and so I took up Thrall's mantle once more and dusted off the enhancement Shaman. And this is where the drama begins. The location for this tale is the Halls of Infusion Normal. Oh, Jesus Christ. Normal mode? What? It was Dungeon Leveling Easy Mode. The team. Myself, 64 Enhancement Shaman. A Paladin Tank, level 68. A 62 Rouge. A Boomer Boy. And a Priesty. Everything is there for a nice, smooth run. Our pally wide walks towards that first pack. Throws a judgment. Swings his Avenger's shield into the mobs. The rogue dies. Yeah. I mean, we've all seen it. We've all seen it. And anybody who's played a rogue has had this moment. There's nobody here. How do you die instantly in normal, though? I don't think a normal mode mob can kill you in one hit. The rogue falls to the floor, and I'm getting smacked. On your shaman. The Rouge gets battle resed and dies again. I type, okay, tank, get aggro, please. You pulled aggro in a normal mode from a paladin that threw Avenger's shield. I mean, that is like enough threat for their health bar, right? At that point? Pretty much. We got no reply from our bolstered wide-walking paladin. We move on and somehow make it through most of the dungeon with our health bars going all over the place. Our priest, Giga Chad, keeping us alive. But inevitably, the rogue is doing so much damage and is dying. But something was really weird about this paladin. He was walking in an almost grid-like fashion. His movement didn't feel human. On top of that, he would only use Judgment on a group of mobs or Consecrate on a single target. That's a badly written bot. That's a really badly written bot. Something was clearly quite strange. After the ice boss, in which I saw him pop bubble during the ability where you hide behind the ice blocks, so he responded to the mechanic, I decided to throw him an inspection. He was wearing an item level 129 cloak, a 139 helm, a 143 chest, which I think is like fresh level 60 gear or lower, and I decided to tell the rest of the team about it in party chat. This warranted a closer look at the tank by the Rouge, as he was the recipient of the inabilities of said tank. It turns out the tank was using Crusader Aura, And everyone started to chime in. Excuse me. Excuse me. Can you at least use Devo Aura? No reply. I decided to take it to the pink. Yeah, mate. Why don't you switch your aura? No reply. We walk down the bubble hallway, and as we get to the end, myself, the tank, and the rogue get knocked off into the river and get sent back to the start of the bridge after all the mobs had died. As we walk back and walk to the boss room... Wait. This can't be a bot. A bot would not be able to respond to this. This is not a bot. There's no way it's a bot. Right? A bot can't recover from a situation like that. Yeah, this is not a bot. As we walk back and walk into the boss room, I right-click our paladin and select Vote Kick. And to no surprise, everyone else did too. I pipe up in chat, fuck it, we ball, I'll tank it. We pull the last boss, lust him in the intermission, lust him to the intermission. We all get back. I pop every defensive I have access to. My Earth Ellie helps keep everything going. The boss dies. We get our loot. And our priest chimes in. Fuck that tank. And we quickly leave the dungeon. My question to you, Preacher, in the chat. Do you think this guy was a bot? No. This was like some really old guy or a kid. Or could it have been a simple newbie when we were all assholes for kicking him right before the last boss? Ooh. Personally, I don't think it's wrong to remove people from your group who are actively making your experience worse. That's my take on it. Some people agree with that. Some people disagree with that. My personal take on it is, if somebody's actively making your experience so much worse, I don't see the problem in removing them. Everyone worse than me is making my experience worse. Yeah, it's not that attitude, but we've all been... I guarantee you've all been in a situation where somebody has left your group early or whatever, and you progress because it's not a hard dungeon, and then somebody joins, and it's actively harder. Because that person's there. They're like doing so much weird shit that is totally unnecessary. They completely make everything you're doing so much worse. It causes deaths, all sorts of stuff. And it was literally easier 4-man than it was 5. But everyone has a different breaking point. Like if the guy was pulling and he was reasonably tanking, right? You said you did progress, then maybe I wouldn't have given a shit. Typically, I don't kick people in dungeons anyway. Certainly not in normal mode. Like I couldn't give a shit. I could probably solo them for the most part. Thank you for reading my little story. And if you're ever in Chicago, I'd love to meet up with you. Yes, I would love to do that too. Chicago is on the list. Your content has helped me get through some rough patches in life. And this meta of the authors shitting on you is whack. I don't deserve it even if it's meant for giggle. Don't worry, I don't take it personally. I hope you and family have a wonderful day. Congrats to the return to the studio. Praise the purpose indeed. Yeah. If you are new in the newcomers chat, you might occasionally have people answer their party newcomer chat. Ooh, maybe. Maybe. That's why the follower dungeons. Yeah, follower dungeons are great. I mean, let's face it. We've had drama stories where people are tanking and don't know what tank means. That's a thing too, right? That's something to bear in mind. There are people out there who are like, I don't even know what tank means. But when I click this button that says tank, I have a faster queue. So I should click this button, right? If I click this button with a sword, I have a shorter queue. If I click this button, I have a longer queue. So it's a really... There's no hard and fast rules. It would really depend. One, is this actually a problem or is it whatever? Are they trolling? I mean, it doesn't sound like the guy was trolling. Being benched on normal. This is a rough day. Yeah, I can't see me ever kicking someone from a normal mode. A normal mode dungeon. I can't see what's the point. I really can't. I don't really care at normal mode. Like, we can clearly 2-man this dungeon. It's not a big deal. But if they were actively, like, fucking really just making it hard and making it worse and it's just terrible, then, yeah, I mean, the consideration is always there. If it's like pure poison, yeah, for sure. I'm not in the... I'll tell you what. I'm not in the crowd, at least at normal mode, of kicking people to, who I don't like before so they don't get loot. I totally disagree with that. Right? I really disagree with that. With leaving someone in the group up until like the last boss and then kicking them so they intentionally don't get loot, I'm not down with that at all. That is way, way, way too far. I think that's just being a really shitty person yourself. I'm not down with that at all. And I know people who've done that. It's like, we'll kick them before the last boss. And I'm like, nah, dude. AFKers, sure. AFKers, no problem with that. If you're actively not playing, you haven't said anything. Yeah, that's totally fine. But if you've got a problem with someone early on, and it's just, you know, you haven't addressed it until the last boss. If you're sneakily like, I'll kick them before the end. Yeah, I think you're being a bit of a jerk-ass there. Not a bit, like a whole jerk-ass. All right, benched on normal. Oh, dear. Preacher, I need the jury. I hope you and the jury are all well. Let's jump into it. You should know that the following story is not about fun, laughs, and giggles. It's about receiving judgment. As a reminder to anybody who comes to us for judgment, we do not have an innocent emote. Just as a reminder, we have one kind of emote, and it's not the innocent one. I began in the late Burning Crusade and continued to mid-Kata, where the underwater zone made me quit. Why? It's so good! It made me quit the game for 10 years. Vashir is awesome! It's the fastest zone in the game. Vashir is great. It's so good. If you play that zone for 20 minutes, you get the overwhelmingly fastest mount in the game, and it's so quick. All the experience is so lumped together. The stories are awesome. You ride submarines and shit. Vashir is great. Vashir is so fucking good. I will not stand for this hatred of Vashir. It's a great zone. I did it every time that I did Cataclysm. It was fucking awesome. It's so fast. It's rapid. It's amazing. It's the best XP you can get in Kata. You just zoom through Vashir. It's fucking amazing. Needless to say, I was a kid and I had no idea what to do in that zone at the time. You get your seahorse and it's like, what, 450% mount speed, that thing? It's fucking rapid. But I did have a firm understanding of the basics, which made my inevitable return to World of Warcraft in 8.3 so much easier. Despite all of the new features the modern game had to offer, what a time to return to WoW. I dodged a bullet with all that benthic nonsense. Yeah, joining in the 0.3 patches is generally not a bad idea. Generally speaking. I enjoyed it so much. I got Curve on N'Zoth, which is to this day my best achievement ever in WoW. The problem, though, lies in what happened next. After getting Curve, immediately my guild stopped playing. They were all veteran players and knew what was going to happen next, so they all went to chill until the expansion. Kind of big, especially if those guys come back every expansion. They're like, okay, killed it. I'm not farming gear to sit around and there's no new content. Bye! I'm going to go play something else. If I could get my guilds to do that, I would be so happy. I really would. I hate farm raiding so much. I'm done. If I could have everything and just come back next time, easy. So, what happened was that all the way from 8.3 until Castle Nathria dropped, I was the only man logging in the whole guild. I didn't want to leave the guild because they were really good. So, like that dude on Interstellar when they went down to the black hole planet, I patiently waited for them all to return on my own, keeping the place clean, dusting the shelves, and doing my duty. Meanwhile, I decided to switch mains, going from Ret Pally to a Frost Mage, which turned out to be a downgrade in terms of damage. Regardless, I choose my class of spec just for the vibe, not if it's meta or not. Yeah, just one man roaming the halls, keeping the lights on. When was that? Okay. Oh, holy shit. The guild all came back for Nathria. I've only ever seen this happen once during the Sunwell. I've only ever seen it happen once where my guild said we were taking, I think, a 4-month break from raiding and we'll all be back on like September something. It was so weird. We got a date that everybody could be back. The guild will start raiding again in September, and this was like June maybe or something. And everyone take the summer off. It was so bizarre. And motherfucker, in September, the whole team was back. It was insane. I've never seen... People left the server. Like went and raided in other guilds on different servers, and then us all came back in September. We had the whole raid team back. It was mad. Absolutely fucking crazy. I've never seen anything like it in my life. They just all were back. We had the full raid team back for the raid night. Was it the Greek guild? Yeah, it was the Greek guild. But I mean, even saying the Greek guild, where they all spend time together, they were still only probably a third of the entire raid team. I stuck around, but like people left. They went and did like AQ gate openings, all kinds of stuff. They all just then came back. Oh no, they were a terrible team. Yeah. By the end, the guild fell apart in... Oh no, we did finish some well. It got bad in Wrath of the Lich King. Yeah, that guild survived until Ulduar. That guild collapsed in Ulduar. But yeah, ICC was ICC. The beginning of Rather Lich King was a very rough time for that guild. Anyway, the first raid night comes around. We clear all the way to Danny in normal and start wiping. I think because we didn't manage to meet the DPS check. And accidentally, instead, in the Discord officer channel... And accidentally, instead of being in the Discord officer channel, the officers started talking in public about benching people who were producing the lowest damage. I was in that category. Oof. To be fair, Frost Mage did indeed have low damage, and because of the inherent movement of the fight, the magic special rune that I dropped on the ground did little to boost my DPS. I mean, you're supposed to play around that. I'm not judging. I shouldn't judge. I'm not judging. They ended up saying that I had to be benched. Because this normal mode Denathrius was a progress raid where they couldn't carry anybody. Wait a sec. I thought. Don't you mean it's progression for us as a guild? Oh no. I didn't have my microphone on my PC. Oh, dude. If you're asking me for judgment, these are all bad signs. Haven't got a mic. Don't do any damage. Can't play Rune of Power. You know you could spec out of Rune of Power if you're struggling with it. I think Incanta's Flow was still around then. I can't remember back into Shadowlands. So I typed in chat the ultimate insult in my eyes. K. A big capital K. And G quit on the spot with all of my characters that I had leveled while they were gone. All the waiting around I had done, waiting for them all to come back, just to be kicked on our very first raid night. I was both sad, and madge. I mean, if they were such god gamers, why are they struggling on normal and benching people? You're really not going to like my judgment, and I really don't want to offend, and I hope you take it as something to think about when we get there. That's all I'm saying, is I hope you take it as something to think about. Okay? Why not give me advice to switch talents around, or give me movement advice? Why is their solution jumping straight into benching people? Let me finish this out before I render my verdict. I was always helping around with crafted stuff. No. I was always there crafting stuff and being in the occasional Mythic Plus, and from my POV, losing an active and positive guild member is not worth it in the long run. Again, we're almost there. Just to finish off a raid boss we were probably going to kill Danny D sooner after anyways, I think a guild should tackle challenges together and work at it till the boss drops and not their immediate reaction to start benching people right off the bat. So tell me, Preacher, was I in the wrong and overreacted, or was this guild careless for their individual players? VH, I do feel quite betrayed by them. Looking forward to your judgment. Have a good one. Cheers. Okay, yes, you are incorrect. Okay? It is actually, just to be clear on something, it is very common practice, certainly with the way flex and scaling works, is to remove lower DPS characters if damage is clearly a problem. It does affect things. So, yeah, it's not rude. It's very normal, and it's something you'll hear a lot in the early days of Flex. Is like this, and you'll figure that Flex, certainly in Pug worlds, comes up with very structured amounts of people that need to be there in order to make the DPS boundaries a certain way. Okay, let me answer some basics for you. Why not give me some advice to switch talents around or give me movement advice? Why didn't you do that in all that downtime you had and practice and learn these things? Yes, they could have done that, but it is not their responsibility or anybody's responsibility to show you how to play the game. That's up to you. That's up to you to sort out. A lot of people don't feel like babysitting people to do things. And that's okay. That's totally okay. Why are they struggling on normal and benching people? Again, very normal. It happens. It can even happen on normal mode, is that with the amount of people in the raid, it can cause some really weird boundaries. I'll give you an example. Even happened to me playing with multiple world first raiders and exceedingly good players. And Raven is here. Raven was joining us for, what was the name of the boss, Raven? Where me and Alex and everybody else and you came up with the most absurd I think it was in Sanctum. Mythic or whatever, Heroic Sanctum, Soul Render. Yeah, Heroic Soul Render, a really easy boss. But because of our setup, we had to come up with the most absurd strategies to meet the DPS check because we didn't want to mess around with the team. And we hit in rage on that fight or whatever. And we had me and Alex were like knocking things in certain areas to do stuff. Like even with really top world play, we couldn't beat that boss. We didn't kill it. The next week we came in with a slightly different amount of people and we one-shot it with like 4 minutes left on Enrage. That's the nature of the beast. It happens. Why is their solution jump straight to benching people? Because that's a normal thing to do if the DPS is really, really bad. Like if you're doing really, really, really bad damage and several people are, you're possibly adding more health to the boss than you are damaging down. That's something that happens. Ultimately, all being said, I would not be offended if I was doing really low damage. I don't think anybody should be. And the team is in normal or heroic or whatever and be like, we kind of need to make some changes here. Because if we don't, we're not going to get anywhere. And you need to go and increase your damage, either by getting gear or practicing a bit more, whatever it is. Some people in the guild may help you, but it's your responsibility ultimately. And I will say this. World of Warcraft has more resources available than practically any video game in the fucking world of how to play it. Because the rules of how you play World of Warcraft have not changed since the Burning Crusade. They're all the same. They've never changed. The only thing that changes is the spells you cast. But the rules to optimize and do well with any class in this game remain the fucking same for all time. That has never changed. All the spells and talents and all that kind of shit, that does change. But the basics, the fundamentals of how you play this game to a really high level as the same. So you can watch my guides from as far back as Cataclysm, and I've repeated them many times over years. They still count today. They're totally fine. They're totally fine. Yeah, like movement. Like you're talking about movement with Rune of Power. That's something we've discussed a million times. And if it's not Rune of Power, it'll be something else. And you'll always see that if you watch the Race to World First, is you'll see their casters, even on like Farak, with endless movement. Farak never lets you stand still. Barely ever. And they're pumping. They're pumping insane damage. They're working it out. They're doing it. All those things are there. So, yes, you are guilty, but more, I think, instead of you being a douche, it's more a case of not being aware of what's going on. So there's a bit of noobiness. That's all. Like, why am I getting kicked? Aren't we supposed to be a big community? Kind of, but we want to kill bosses. And, yeah, like, you know what you remind me of? Let me put it this way. I made this same mistake. In vanilla, I joined my brother's guild, my very, very first guild when I was an Alliance Dwarf Warrior. That's what I was. I was an Alliance Dwarf Warrior. And I was kind of in the same mindset as you. Is I joined a guild. I joined a guild that had already done a lot of Molten Core and Onyxia. And I, of course, didn't have achievements. And I lost my shit because they wouldn't help me do it. So I pugged it. I pugged my achievement. And I felt like this was bullshit. Absolute bullshit. That I had to find people who also needed to do the Onyxia quest chain. Or also needed to do Blackrock Depths. In order to get my achievement for Molten Core. Because I would, like, sign up for Molten Core. And they'd be like, have you done your achievement yet? And I would say, no, nobody's helped me. I would give answers like that. Nobody in the guild has helped me. And they're like, oh, okay. So go and pug it then, or whatever. Because there's 50 people in this guild who all have it, or if not 55, and we're trying to throw you a bone because you're blah, blah, blah's brother. And I didn't get it. Anyway, I eventually did do my achievements, and I was like, fuck you. And I remember whispering one of the raid leaders and saying, I have my achievements. I did it. And then he went, oh, what are you coming on? Warrior? And I was like, yeah. He's like, so what's your fire resistance? And I was like, I don't have any fire resistance. And he's like, well, you're going to need some fire resistance for, like, Geddon and, you know, these fights and Ragnaros. And I went, so how do I get fire resistance? And he went, well, you know, you go to BRD and you go to these places and you get some fire resistance. There's also some crafted fire resistance. And I was like, so will the guild craft it for me? He's like, no. And I left the guild. I G-quit on the spot, and I called them all arseholes. I called them all fucking arseholes. And I remember telling my brother, your guild is full of pricks, selfish cunts. I quit the guild, yeah, and I re-rolled Horde with my friends. And I was like, your guild is full of pricks and selfish arseholes, and I've done this and this and this. And my brother was like, you've done what, and what? It's like, I capped my character, which for me was a big deal, but for them... and I'd done my Onyxia and Molten Core achievement. And to anybody who was even remotely a raider at the time, that's like basics number one. Like, you've done nothing. You've done absolutely nothing at all. Like, you've achieved zero things, right? But I thought my first impression of a guild, which I think I'm selling you this because I think you probably have that similar impression. My first impression of a guild was that I should be basically given a bunch of stuff. Because I'm here, I'm part of the team, so I should probably benefit from your stuff, even though I have done nothing to deserve it or earn it in any way, any realistic way that wasn't immediately replaceable by someone else. Like, I had earned nothing. I had not contributed really anything to this guild. But I expected a lot out of them because I was in the guild. I was part of the team. The guild should help me, yes. The guild should help you when you've helped yourself. That's a more realistic way. Like, the guild shouldn't help you wipe your ass. The guild will help you to achieve good things. So guilty, but not an arsehole, I don't think. Just probably a little checkers on what you expect from a guild. That would probably be more realistic. Well, that does bring it down to drama time for today. I am off to see some good people, so you may see some pictures and stuff on Twitter later of things going on. But it's been a tremendous week. Check out Palworld if you have time. I'm going to give a full recommendation to that. Again, not sponsored in any way, just really fun, really interesting game. Especially if you like Pokemon and exploration and Breath of the Wild and crafting and all those kind of things. They're all there. I might be back tomorrow with some Baldur's Gate 3. I'll let you know. I am going to be doing stuff tomorrow. But who knows? Who knows where we land with that? Other than that, have a great weekend, everybody. If I don't see you, I will definitely see you Monday, which is the MSQ. FF14 MSQ is on Monday. And then, of course, the continuation of Baldur's Gate 3. All right? Be awesome. Be good. I'll see you later. Where's my button? There.